Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is why I support Donald Trump. Back in 2016, as we were getting ready for a presidential election, at that time I still believed in the mainstream media. And Donald Trump was trying to become the Republican nominee for president. And he was being depicted as an evil man. At that time, I was a Republican, and I still am. However, I was troubled by this thought that, oh, wow, the Republicans could have an evil man as their nominee. So I said, if Trump is nominated, I'll vote for Hillary Clinton, who was the presumable Democratic nominee and became the nominee. However, when the election came, and I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016 because I didn't think it really mattered, and actually I wanted to please my wife, but when Trump won, I was secretly glad, actually, because I didn't like Hillary Clinton, to be honest, I didn't really know much about what was going on. I'm a historian. I wasn't that interested in what was current politics. But she impressed me. My sense was that she was a cold-hearted woman. And for me, what's important in people is kindness. So anyway, Trump won, and he was serving his term. And I wasn't paying much attention in his first term until 2020, when COVID came. And COVID really had a big effect on my life in terms of, it destroyed my faith in the mainstream media. After a month of COVID, everyone loved COVID because it was such a people are kind of bored with their lives, and it was this big. It was really something big, and it was incredible what was going on. But after a month of COVID, I felt like the mainstream media was lying. I felt like, and the things they were telling us to do, in the name of good health, good public health, to me, did not make sense. People staying at home. Americans, especially in the United States, Americans are already a lonely people. It's healthy to interact with people, and we couldn't do that. And then the pressure came to wear masks, which to me were terrible. I mean, psychologically and physically, to me, I was getting sick from wearing a mask, and it was very depressing. When we need to interact with people, and when you interact with people, you need to see their face. And we need to smile and see. You can't see smiles with masks. So, and then they said, everyone in the world has to get this injection, have a fluid injected into their arm. But by that time, and I had my own issues with the medical industry, I lost faith in the mainstream media and in the medical field. The medical field is full of a lot of good people, but it is hierarchical. And I think the drug companies control the medical industry, and their interest is money. And in their interest, self-interest, people being sick is good for business. And so I thought, if someone sticks a needle in my arm, I have to have faith that this is something beneficial to me. So I did not get the COVID vaccine. I was pressured to. I did not get it. And I believe that the whole COVID. Now, some people during COVID benefited. Because you couldn't do stuff, and they benefited if they made spiritual effort. For example, my church, if they couldn't do things, so they were home meditating, and spiritual effort is what we all really need to do for ourselves and for the world. But aside from that, there was a lot of destruction. People were hurt. A lot of elderly people. They thought, we're protecting the elderly. They destroyed the lives of the elderly because they were so already very lonely. Couldn't see family members. It was terrible. Children were really hurt, I think. A lot of small businesses were destroyed. So I lost faith in the mainstream media, and I started going on the internet. That's the great thing about today's world is, you don't just have to watch the news, or you can look things up on the internet and research. And I did a lot of research. And at that time, Anthony Fauci was portrayed as this great hero. He's helping everybody. He's the great hero, the great savior. And at one point he said, we need to think about not shaking hands anymore. And at the time I thought, okay. But now I've decided, in my opinion, Anthony Fauci is a criminal. And they remember one time watching TV. They said, "Oh, we're all at home. We're all together, alone together, something like that. We're all at." They tried to make it seem like a great cause, by wearing masks and staying at home and getting the vaccine. We're fighting this great noble cause together. Well, I wasn't buying it, because so I started researching, and I on the internet and in books. I read a book called Rise of the New World Order: The Culling of Man by J. Michael Thomas Hayes, 2013. Now, the point of his book, global population is about 7.7 billion. Is that right? And according to this book, there are people who rule the world. They are very wealthy people, or families, bankers. The people, we think that politicians, the political leaders of countries rule the world. Well, I don't think it's true. They are famous and they have some money. I think they're puppets. And according to this book, the real people behind the scenes who have been orchestrating everything are people. Money gives you power, because people need money and everybody wants more, everybody wants to be rich and so forth. So if you have money, you can control people. And it seemed to me, this book makes the case, like the First World War, for example, which was a complete catastrophe, millions died. That didn't just happen. It was planned. Of course, the masses have to go along with these things, and that's an important thing to consider. But according to this book, Rise of the New World Order, these very wealthy people who rule the world, they think there's too many people. They are evil, these people, and they really are following Satan. But they want to reduce the population to 500 million or 500 million people, and they want to enslave the world because they have a love of power. Power is something people enjoy. We all have a tendency, but it's really an evil desire, because it means you're not respecting others. So according to this book, there is a plan for global genocide and enslavement, right? And Bill Gates, who's been portrayed as a great hero for global health, his whole vaccination campaign, vaccinations are supposed, according to this book, not designed to help, but there's documentation that they are designed to hurt people, to kill people. The Rothschild family is mentioned. I think, from what I know, they're the most famous. They're the most famous, very wealthy, rich people. I read another book called Plague of Corruption: Restoring Faith in the Promise of Science by Judy Mikovits and Kent Heckenlively, 2020. Now, this book is really tremendous. It talks about how science, medical science, research into vaccines has been corrupted. You can see in the title that these drug companies really control scientists, and that we are not getting the truth about what's going on. We've been told, everybody, the childhood vaccines and so forth are important. You need to have all these, and the number of vaccines has gone way up. But Americans have been getting sicker and sicker, and so this book is tremendous. Judy Mikovits. So she's. People say, she's been discredited. Well, if you go, the drug companies, I think, from what I can tell, are the most powerful companies in the world. They have all this money. They control the mainstream media. If you watch the national news, you all see all these drug commercials, always promoting drugs, trying to tell people, you need to take this drug, talk to your doctor. So that was another really good book by Judy Mikovits. She was disputing the COVID narrative. Everything they were telling us to do. Stay at home, wear a mask, socially distance, get the vaccine, and then get the booster shots. She was saying, no, don't get the vaccine, because people are being hurt, people are getting sick by it. One of the funny things, they wanted, black Americans were reluctant to get the vaccine because they were distrustful. They got Hank Aaron, the baseball home run king, to get the vaccine, black guy. They thought, to help get black people to get the vaccine. He died about a week after getting the vaccine. Another book I read, The Case Against Masks, 10 Reasons Why Mask Use Should Be Limited by Dr. Judy A. Mikovits and Kent Heckenlively, 2020. Same authors. Yeah, I hated masks. I thought masks were so evil, so harmful, because you can't, when you're wearing a mask, you can't breathe. You're breathing in carbon dioxide, which has been trapped inside the mask. The inside of the mask, there's bacteria, which starts growing, and you're breathing that back in. Very unhealthy. But they were saying, the psychological pressure was tremendous. And see, the thing is, that to me showed it was wrong. When they were telling people, if you go out and don't wear a mask, you are committing murder. You're murdering grandma. Or, if you get together with people. And it was psychological warfare and coercion. And I felt like it's a scam. I don't like being scammed. I don't like being pressured. I want to do what's right. But people were afraid. They thought, if you don't wear a mask, you're a bad person. You're going to spread COVID. Okay, another book I read, QAnon, The Storm, a 20-year timeline by Robert Smith, 2019. Now, these QAnon people, or that movement, they believe that the U.S. government, federal government, which is like the biggest has the largest financial clout of any group of people in the world, U.S. federal government, that the top people are corrupt. And they've been doing things that are bad, forever wars, the COVID vaccine, the whole war on terror, which and the food industry, which is really hurting people because of unhealthy food. And then, according to this book, there is a movement of good people, and that Donald Trump was the front man to take back the country, to fight the evil people whose self-interest is their own families and having a good life and being paid well, not the country, not the well-being of the whole country, and they've sold out, and so there's a group of good people, and Donald Trump was the front man fighting them, according to this book. Another book, QAnon Phenomenon by J.D. Payne, 2020, same idea, as we just said, is that Donald Trump. This is when I thought, Trump. That's when I started thinking, I felt like if the mainstream, since I believe the mainstream media was lying, and up till now, 8 years later, they keep talking about how Trump is racist, he's evil, he's Adolf Hitler, he's a threat to democracy, and if you think if they develop a reputation of lying, then for me, I believe the opposite. So, if what they're saying is true, see, I think he is a threat to what they call the swamp. But he's the front man of people who are good and want to have good government, want to end the forever wars, want to have good health for people, and end this corruption in the medical industry, which is destroying the health of the American people. They say the healthcare industry is a very dynamic. It's really a booming industry. Well, that means the country's sick. It's not a good sign. That's why so many people go into nursing. Another book I read, The Great Reset, Joe Biden and the Rise of 21st Century Fascism by Glenn Beck and Justin Haskins, 2022. Glenn Beck is one of my favorite political people, and I agree with him pretty much on everything except for Israel's war in Gaza. I don't agree with that. I think that's terrible. But otherwise, he's a Trump supporter now, and anyway, this book says basically the same thing about how there's this movement, which is continuing, hopefully we can turn it around, a movement for genocide, and global enslavement. And this gets into that same topic. How they want to have censorship, because they said it's dangerous. You're spreading dangerous misinformation if you research and tell things which you think are true, which would be this video included. Another book, The Real Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Big Pharma, and the Global War on Democracy and Public Health by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., 2021. The person I respect the most in American politics today is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because he has the courage. He's had the courage and still has the courage to fight the drug companies, which, in my opinion, are evil, flat out evil. And, it was tough on doctors during COVID. Because doctors are paid well, they have families, they're taking care of their families, and if they spoke out against what was happening, against wearing masks, against the vaccine, they could lose their license. Anyway, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's been talking about, that Bill Gates is, this book, I'm still reading it, it's a very detailed book, a lot of information, but he makes a tremendous case that Anthony Fauci is a criminal. He made a lot of money, but not in the interest of public health. A lot of intimidation of whistleblowers. A tremendous book. And like I said, and to me, when RFK Jr. joined the Trump team, that was the most encouraging thing for me ever in politics. Because Trump, I watched the debate or the convention, and I didn't really like his speech. And I have some other sources who say, "Oh, it doesn't matter who wins. There's both corrupt. The evil people who rule the world, they don't take chances, and so there's no way they're going to let someone, a good man, become president of the United States." But I know that RFK Jr. is a good man. So when he joined the Trump team, I was very encouraged. A book I read years ago, another book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, A Second Look at the Federal Reserve, G. Edward Griffin, 2010. Amazing book. This is a book that gets into how we basically have a corrupt banking system, which really, there's so many things, and I guess it's all spiritual, but so many things we have to get into and face. And when the Federal Reserve was created, it was created not in the interest of the public, but to protect big banks. We do not have a good banking system. People, it creates booms and busts, inflation, which is theft. It really hurts the poor and the elderly who can't work. Another book on the same line, End the Fed by Ron Paul, 2010. I have a high respect for Ron Paul. He's another guy, tremendous guy in American politics today. And his son, Rand Paul, who's fought Anthony Fauci. Rand Paul's in Congress. Tremendous. So this second book by Ron Paul, End the Fed, is the same idea of how the Federal Reserve is corrupt. We need a new banking system. Another book, Good Energy, The Surprising Connection Between Metabolism and Limitless Health by Casey Means, MD, 2024. One of my favorite people today in politics is Tucker Carlson. He's had amazing guests on his podcasts, his interviews, including Casey Means and her brother, who are talking about she's an MD, talking about the corruption in the medical field, and how the food industry is producing food which is unhealthy, and the regulatory agencies in the federal government are approving things in food which they should not because they're paid. So this is the real problem, that people's priority is taking care of their families, and you have people with good jobs. They don't want to lose their good jobs, so they will go along with evil things. This is a tremendous book. I haven't read it, so I can't say it's but I saw the interview with Casey Means. There's so many books to read, but I thought she was tremendous in her courage, taking on the drug companies, the pharmaceutical companies, and the food industry. Another book, The Great Awakening, Defeating the Globalists and Launching the Next Great Renaissance. Alex Jones with Kent Heckenlively, 2023. Alex Jones has a thing on the internet called InfoWars. I check him every day. Very brave man. These are similar ideas to previous books about he calls the people who rule the world the globalists, global elite, who are, and they have their meetings in Davos. What's it called? But anyway, Jones is a big Trump supporter. And I have not read this book, but I watch InfoWars every day. I check InfoWars every day. I have a high respect for Alex Jones. Dark Future, Uncovering the Great Reset's Terrifying Next Phase by Glenn Beck and Justin Haskins, 2023. Again, I haven't read this book, but I have high respect for Glenn Beck and his courage. Another book, Thimerosal, Let the Science Speak, the Evidence Supporting the Immediate Removal of Mercury, a known neurotoxin from Vaccines, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., 2015. Again, I haven't read the book, but I respect Robert F. Kennedy Jr. so very, very much. One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 1, The Sordid Union Between Intelligence and Crime That Gave Rise to Jeffrey Epstein, Whitney Webb, 2022. I have very high respect for Whitney Webb. I haven't read this book, but I've seen her interviewed many times, and she is, again, a very brave person, fighting the powers that be that rule the world, trying to turn the tide so we can have good government all over the world. And she's the one who's skeptical about Trump, doesn't think it matters, but maybe she's right. We'll see. If Harris wins, we won't know, but if Trump wins and things don't change, then maybe she was right. I don't know. But I like to think that it's possible that that a Trump victory could lead to positive change. And even if Trump wins, it's going to be a struggle because these evil guys who rule the world they're going to fight. Another book, Government Gangsters: The Deep State, the Truth, and the Battle for Our Democracy by Kash Pramad Patel, 2023. This guy was a guest, I think, on Glenn Beck. I haven't read this book, but again, the same idea how, they call it the deep state, which is people, top people in the U.S. government, different departments, who have authority and have power and money and aren't interested in the welfare of the country. They want war. They want disease to make drug companies make money. They want make money from war, and we have to fight this. Again, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the person I respect most, and if Trump does win, he's going to play a major role in his government in fighting the drug companies and working for good health for the American people and the whole world, and ending look at autism rates have skyrocketed. All these vaccines. There's a great video called Vaxxed. Can't tell you any details. I don't have that written down. Another person in politics today, Tulsi Gabbard. She ran as a Democrat for president in 2020. Couldn't get anywhere. She talked about forever wars. You look at Afghanistan. 20 years there. A lot of money made. This is why Dick Cheney and his daughter Liz are against Trump. They're both warmongers. Self-interest is involved. They've been making a lot of money from these defense contractors. Tucker Carlson. Yeah, I've been watching lots of his videos. He's had amazing guests. And so he's a big Trump supporter, and he's had all these guests who are, taking on, who have the courage, saying things that you don't see on the mainstream media, things about our real problems that we have. He had Matt Taibbi, who was talking about problems with the media. Jeffrey Sachs, who was really questioning all the new forever war in Ukraine, and Harmeet Dillon, who talked about how Kamala Harris, as a young woman, her corrupt career in politics. Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, who's a daughter-in-law of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She was in the CIA, talked about that, how the terrible things that the U.S. has been doing around the world, and now they're bringing it back here, where they want to have censorship and basically have Americans lose their freedom of speech and freedom in general. And she was the campaign director for the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaign. Trump has his MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. So she's supporting Trump. James Corbett of the Corbett Report. That's on the internet. I watched a lot of his stuff. And he talked about, 9/11 as an inside job, and Bill Gates is a very corrupt man. Again, Alex Jones and InfoWars is one of my favorite people who I follow. As I said, another issue, another guy in politics, Vivek Ramaswamy, who is he's talked about 9/11 as an inside job. I've seen videos recently. I got into that, where these guys, basically engineers, were saying the two airplanes that hit the Twin Towers in New York City, those buildings should not have come down. That those airplanes could not bring them down. It was a controlled demolition. And the thing is, if 9/11 was an inside job, then that's unbelievably terrible. But we have to face it. I mean, it's George W. Bush. The whole war on terror was a big fraud, and it led directly to the 20-year war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, making a lot of money, and how the Iraq war has created all these refugees who are flooding into Europe. So the internet is great if you can use it to try to learn what's going on. Another topic, geoengineering. These guys, what they call chemtrails, where they're spraying stuff in the sky. And according to this information that was presented, that this is affecting the climate and affecting weather, and maybe this is why we're having climate change. So, and again, it's something malevolent. It's something. It's wrong. It's destructive. I think the 2020 election was stolen, from what I can tell, because of all the mail-in balloting, where you can't tell if there's a person behind the vote, the ballot. And then January 6th comes, where a lot of them, Trump supporters, say, oh my God, Congress is going to certify a stolen election. So they come to Washington. They're very upset. They can't believe this is happening, that Biden's going to be certified. And then I believe the FBI, there were good people who came to the Capitol, but then it was turned into a riot. And then it was all turned against Trump supporters. A lot of good people were arrested and are still in prison. Trump's going to let them out if he wins. I believe the mainstream media are a bunch of liars because they're interested in taking care of their families, which is fine, but it's wrong also because they are participating in destruction of life and global genocide and enslavement, and it's wrong. And a great video I watched was JFK to 9/11. Everything is a rich man's trick. I think that we're going to start making videos on Napoleon Bonaparte tomorrow, part 1. And I believe Donald Trump's the reincarnation of Napoleon. Napoleon was fighting the powers that be at that time, fighting to bring progress to the world, specifically in Europe, and his Code Napoleon. And that's kind of interesting too. And I think, Donald Trump is continuing with the mission that Napoleon had to bring progress to the world. Some of these issues we're facing, the border of Mexico, all these refugee people coming in, we should know who's coming into the country. I don't think it's unreasonable to say we shouldn't just we need to know who's coming in, because what makes a country great is the quality of the people. Yeah, I'm sure, and we should have legal immigration, not illegal immigration. The forever war. So and Trump made a great speech or a point that that the war in Gaza wouldn't have happened because Iran is sponsoring Hamas and Hezbollah, and with sanctions on them before because of their nuclear program, they didn't have the money. Although another interesting point, I think, with the war with Israel and Hamas is that when it happened was it last October, I think, October of 2023, Israel's a very small country. It has a tremendous military, doesn't have a big border to defend, and the Hamas incursion lasted 3 hours. They killed more than 1,000 Israelis, took hostages. And the Israeli army was stood down. They didn't react because I think again it was planned. The bad guys who rule the world, the global elite, they wanted a war, and they got one. And now they're turning Gaza into a wasteland and killed a lot of people. But to have a war, you have to have justification. So by killing more than 1,000 Israelis, then I think, we got to fight. This is where I disagree with Glenn Beck. I can't support what's going on in Gaza and in now Lebanon. So, and a major issue really is health. We have to end the tyranny of the drug companies. And I feel sorry for doctors or people in the healthcare field. They have to follow. They can't fight if they question, or they have to obey. And so what happens at the top, if the guys at the top are evil, then it's a real problem. So, I'm hoping that Donald Trump will win tomorrow or whenever they finish the counting. If he loses, well, the thing is, I'm in a church called Self-Realization Fellowship, and it's tremendous. And ultimately, God exists. He loves us. Everything's okay. And if Harris wins, and this whole trend toward genocide and global enslavement has to continue. I know they're going to fail eventually because this is God's world, and this is not His will. Satan has his time. It's a low age, so Satan's had power, but we're headed toward a higher age, and sooner or later we'll turn the tide. Everything's okay, and if things get tougher and tougher, which is very possible, then that's the good part. Is that hardships bring people to God, to make spiritual effort through prayer and meditation and spiritual study and service. And then when we do that, we change. We become better people. And when more and more people become better people, then conditions change. And all these problems will disappear. And we'll have the courage to face painful things like 9/11 and the corruption in the medical industry and these wars and what the U.S. has been doing around the world with the CIA. We can face these things and then have a better world. So everything's okay. My church, Self-Realization Fellowship, with Paramahansa Yogananda, I can't say enough about it. But all is well because God loves us. All is well. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.